Well, it's that time of year again. The playoffs are beginning, and we start with an early beginning in the National League. We've got, well, just one eliminator tie this year, and it's all been a bit of a mess over the last day or two. I was due to record the National League eliminator predictions on Saturday evening after the season finished, but since then it has been chaos. So now we are looking ahead to just one eliminator, which will be between 5th place Solihull Moors and 7th place Halifax Town. I'll be giving you my preview and prediction for the game, and of course, as always, get involved in the comments, see if you can beat or match my score, and if you do, you will get a shout out in the next recap when we look ahead to the semi-finals, and that episode will be on Friday after our latest Premier League and Championship predictions on Wednesday and Thursday. But let's talk about how we got to this situation, because the last few days have been crazy. Halifax sealed their place in the playoffs on the final day on Saturday. That was a crucial one for them, wrapped up with a comfortable 3-0 win against Eastleigh, and they were expecting to be travelling to Altrincham this midweek, who finished 4th, as the process would normally work. But shortly after the announcement of the playoffs, Gateshead were pulled out because they didn't have the ground licensing to secure their tenureship for 10 years, which is required for promotion to the EFL. As a result, they can no longer take part in the playoffs. They were due to play against 5th place Solihull Moors, which ironically was a warm-up for the FA Trophy final, which I'll be going to see in a couple of weeks, so you'll still get to see that fixture, but I'll have a little bit less to base my prediction on there. As a result of that, Solihull Moors were given a bye, and Halifax v Altrincham would still take place. But then there was another twist in the saga, because Altrincham, in 4th place, rightly probably thought, well, why aren't we getting a bye? We've finished the highest, and now our opponents are getting one instead. The National League, it seems, agreed, because a few hours later on the Sunday, they changed their mind again. And now the two lowest remaining sides, Solihull Moors and Halifax 5th and 7th, are playing each other, whilst Altrincham have had a bye from 4th to play Bromley on Sunday in 3rd, a game I'm hoping to be at as well. So all of that means we've just got the one game to predict, and from a neutral point of view, it's actually a little bit sad, because of the 4 sides that would have taken part in the eliminators, Altrincham and Gateshead are by far the biggest and most regular goal scorers, which would have probably created a bit more entertainment in the games, but we have had some absolute stonkers when it comes to the eliminators in previous years, so let's hope that this one lives up to the billing too. It's Solihull Moors v Halifax, and the two sides at the moment will not really care how they got there. They'll just be happy that they've got a chance at EFL promotion. Solihull Moors have had a good season, bouncing back from that poor year last year after being in the playoffs prior to that as well. A side that had generally been on an upward trajectory and have rediscovered their form this year. They finish in 5th place, just one behind Altrincham in 4th, and only 5 off Bromley in 3rd as well. We mentioned they've also reached the FA Trophy final, so we'll have at least one visit to Wembley regardless. And they are going into this one, well, with the best away record in the league, which is probably not that useful going into this home game. Albeit they've got the 3rd best defensive record at home in the league this season, they have struggled to win as many games as others, just 10 from their 23 home matches and just 34 home goals as well. Having said that, they've significantly outscored Halifax over the course of the season, and a lot of Halifax's goals have come at home as well, so on the road they've struggled for goals a little. For Solihull though, it's been a good finish to the season, albeit you could argue in slightly easier circumstances. They lost on the penultimate weekend 3-0 at Bromley, but their home form the last 2 games, 2 wins, 2 clean sheets against relegation battle in York and against relegation battle in Ebbsfleet. They also did win at Bromley the week before in the FA Trophy semi-final and won at Wealdstone, so on paper, the running has allowed them to build a little bit of confidence, but at home to those top sides this year, they've maybe not been quite so potent. The most recent outing against one of the top boys at home was a 2-2 draw against Barnet, who they'll be facing if they get through in this tie. On the flip side of that, if we look at Halifax, they finished their season with a big 3-0 win at Eastleigh, which is not a bad effort for them, considering they'd been averaging only just over 1 goal a game on the road this season. Prior to that though, some frustrating home draws, but away from home, Halifax have got a better record this season. They've picked up more points away from the Shea, they've got 37 points on the road, just 34 at home, and defensively, they're actually better at home as well. They've got the joint best defensive record in the National League on the road. And for whichever side gets through here, Barnet won't be very happy because they'll be facing one of the 3 best away sides in the National League this season. So for Halifax, the problem has very much been goals. Of the top 16 place teams in the National League, Halifax are the lowest scorers with 58 in 46 matches. Of course, if it weren't for the points deduction for Southend United, Halifax wouldn't be in these playoffs, and it would have been Southend who would have been in 6th place ironically and playing Solihull Moors anyway. But Halifax have had a good season. Again, we watched them at Wembley last summer win the FA Trophy, and they'll be hoping to go there again this time with a chance to return to the Football League. All in all, this makes for a pretty tight game. The only real clue we can get is from looking at the head-to-head record, where Halifax managed to get a draw at Solihull Moors and Solihull won comfortably at Halifax. Again, probably suggests what we expected, which is the away teams have generally had the better form this year. It's not often we come into these games and both sides have got a better form on the road than they have at home, and I wonder if that's going to end up working against Solihull, who probably would have been delighted with the bye and going away from home in their semi-final. And I wonder if we're going to get the tight and cagey game we expect, because we know these two defences are decent. But you look at Halifax, they produced one of their best goal scoring displays on the final day. So how do you look at this now? Because among the sides near the top of the leagues, both are near the higher end for those with games drawn. I've just got a sneaky suspicion this one could go all the way. Solihull on their day a very good side. But even if you look at things such as the top scorer charts, you see that really it is the defence that both of these sides may be relying on. Neither side has a player that scored more than 13 goals across League and FA Cup this year. Both of them definitely been better defensively. And you look at Halifax and think if they're going to stay in this game, they've got to restrict Solihull Moors. Now, at home, that's maybe not quite as difficult because, again, Solihull have scored more goals on the road than they have at their home stadium. And when teams do sit behind the ball, Solihull like to play, like to find spaces in behind. It does make it a little bit more difficult for them to break teams down. And Halifax, as we've seen away from home a lot this season, can be a bit of a threat on the counter-attack from a very solid defensive base. And it comes the old cliche, if they keep clean sheets, they've got a great chance of winning, haven't they? So, given the fact that Halifax have been pretty much draws galore in recent times, 3 of their last 6 matches, given the fact that they don't score or concede many on the road, and given the fact that Solihull struggle to break teams down a bit at home, I'm going to stick my neck on the line and say I think this one goes all the way. And by that, I mean at least extra time. In the 90 minutes, I was tempted to go for a 0-0 draw, but I do think we're going to see a couple of goals. So I'm going to go for 1-1 overall. And I think this game might go all the way to penalties, in which case we have no idea what to expect. It's a bit of a lottery, but I do think at that point home advantage may pay dividends. I'm going to go for Solihull Moors to squeak through, but honestly, I think this one's a flip of a coin and it's a very hard one for me to predict. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw as my prediction for the game, but equally, how much time have both of these sides had to prepare for each other? They didn't even know they were facing each other until late on Sunday. And they didn't even know they were playing on Wednesday night until, late on Sunday as well. So not the ideal preparation for either. Will that throw Halifax with their away form? They've not been able to get all those preparations in they would normally. I'm going for a draw, 1 apiece, and I'm going to go for Solihull to nick it on penalties. But ultimately, this is what makes the National League playoffs great. You just have no idea what's going to happen. Last year, we saw shocks galore. We saw almost moments. That Notts County Boreham Wood game was unbelievable. And look at where Boreham Wood are now. Look at where Woking were this season. The job is not just to be competitive in the playoffs. It's to then make it stick next year so you don't end up at the other end. I'm going for Solihull Moors to prevail on penalties. But that's just my opinion. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comments below and give me your prediction for this National League playoff eliminator. You get 3 points for a perfect score, 1 point for a correct outcome. And if you beat or match my overall prediction, you will get a shout out on Friday when we're back to look ahead for the National League semi-finals this weekend. As I mentioned, I'm hoping to be at Bromley Altrincham, but who will Barnet be facing in the other one? We'll find out the answer later in the week, but if you enjoyed this, please do put a thumbs up on the video. You can watch the game on TNT Sports in the UK. If you want to stay up to date with a busy month as the season comes to a climax across the podcast, then please do subscribe and turn that notification bell on. We'll be back later this week with a Premier League preview for Wolves v Luton. Thursday, we've got our weekend championship predictions. Friday, the National League semi-final. And then the EFL playoffs begin next week as well. You can also see our midweek championship predictions for 2 huge games from yesterday up in the eye above. And we've got a few specials featuring some National League players over the summer months as well. Including, will be a non-league finals day in a few weeks' time. Thank you very much for watching though. It's great to have you here. Really looking forward to the National League playoffs. Hopefully your side does well. Hopefully it's a great game for the neutral. I'll see you back here on Friday to look ahead to the semi-finals.